and welcome. It's Stephen here. Today I'm going to talk to you about everything PHUSE and hopefully have some time for questions and answers at the end. As you can probably imagine, this has been a year like no other. Hey, we'll take you on the journey that we've been on this year, and we'll see where we go. So first things first, if you're watching this live, thank you for dialing in, and you can use the Q&A window to send us some questions. And if you're watching this pre-recorded, if you put in any questions, they'll be sent to us via email. So let me introduce you to our new virtual events platform that you'll hear about during today's call. And why we've actually made this decision, but just to give you a bit of orientation, if you haven't been playing around with this already, most of or all of the windows you can resize just as you would on your desktop. So if the slides are too small, just grab the bottom right-hand corner and make that bigger. They all link to the toolbar on the bottom. So you see the video, the slides, Q&A, profile, although I think most of you know who I am, or should know who I am. And then there's some resources there as well that we'll refer to during the next hour. And then there's some other hidden icons down the bottom, including a survey at the end. And if you want to have a group chat or email the PHUSE office, and for those who tweet, there's a Twitter button as well. So anyhow, enough of that, and let's get going on today's agenda. So I'm going to spend a couple of minutes, how could I not talk about COVID-19? And in fact, I wore this shirt, sorry, someone's playing around with the slides. So somebody, I wore this shirt when I was doing a work thing the other day, actually, and we were talking about COVID, and somebody said that it's actually a COVID shirt because of the viruses. I thought it was flowers, but there we go. So I'll talk about COVID. I'll talk about the single-day events. I'll talk about the CSS and then the EU Connect. We'll then give you a very, very brief overview of what's happening next year in 2021, and then I'm going to update you on something we call Project 2020. It started last November, but we'll hold that until later on. A quick update about the board positions, and then we'll move on to the Q&A. So hopefully that all seems okay to you all. And let me start by saying it was only 7 8 months ago that we were all in Amsterdam. We had an amazing conference in Amsterdam with 600 plus people, and apart from the distance to the hotel and obviously the rain, it was a great event. Use of technologies, especially wearables, they were discussed throughout the event, even if one of the keynotes was quite unorthodox in his delivery, but nevertheless, it got people talking. So it was a really, really good meeting. Now, what happens after the US and the EU Connect is that we have a face-to-face board meeting. We meet once a month anyhow, but in fact, it's actually tomorrow. Actually, it's the last Thursday of every month in the evening. But we have a face-to-face board meeting twice a year, and we actually spent the day doing strategic planning, which is what the board should be doing, rather than operational stuff. And basically, later on today, you'll basically hear about that. But we left Amsterdam, albeit tired, but really excited about the future. And then all of a sudden, COVID, the coronavirus started coming in the news. So it's hard to believe that it was only not that long ago, was it? It was only a couple of months ago, really. And where we found ourselves, so we had an event in Orlando in March 10th. And at the end of February, the 3 people from Japan who had registered and the 4 people from China who had registered had obviously contacted us and said, look, we're basically not allowed to travel. But that was it. Apart from Japan and China, in February, it was still very much a news story. It was something that you saw on the internet. It was something that you saw in the papers. And it was on the last day of February, we got contacted by one of our attendees in America saying, my company said no travel. And it was the first time that we thought, do you know what, this is real. And that was our first cancellation from the US for the US Connect at the end of February. So it goes without saying, it was a really, really difficult time. And we actually held daily meetings. The board actually all stepped in, and we held a daily meeting. We basically came up with 5 red lines, and if any of those red lines would be crossed, we would cancel the event. And basically we were monitoring this once, sometimes twice a day, even on the weekends. We were dialing into calls. And it was the Thursday before. One of the red lines was at the same time that we were running, there was a massive conference 3 miles up the road called HIMSS. It's been going for 40 odd years. It's huge, 40,000 people turn up. And in fact, the President of America was actually their announced keynoter on the Monday, the same day as we were in Orlando. And on the Thursday, they said, we're cancelling. And that was one of our red lines, together with things like the airport shutting, the hotel shutting, Disney shutting, and all these other criteria that we had put together. 1 week earlier, the event would have gone without a hitch. It would have just happened. 2 weeks later, we would have had a full refund from the venue. When I phoned the venue and when I phoned the suppliers that Thursday evening, they looked at me thinking, yeah, well, I wouldn't tell you what they probably thought, but it was probably around, you mad European. What on earth are you doing? But to be honest, the conversations we've had up until now, since they realised that we were the first, and they would find out over the coming weeks that basically many more companies and societies would have to do what we would do. And that really was, we took the decision to go virtual. We basically had to think quick, and going virtual was basically the one option that was on the table at this time. So we needed to be decisive. We needed to act fast. Did we do everything perfect? No, we didn't. But did we do everything with good faith and with PHUSE at the heart of every decision? Well, yes, we did. There was no playbook to use. There was no preparation time available. We were doing this thinking on our feet. I had legal issues, I had contractual issues, I had the lawyers emailing, email things coming through. It was a real stressful time. But what I would like to do is I'd like to thank the companies that you see on the slide here on the right-hand side for basically helping us virtualize the Connect. We basically moved as much content as possible online as quickly as possible. We didn't have any time to prepare this. It was literally, what can we do? And we need to do it in the next 48 hours. And then immediately we thought, well, we got single-day events running next month. We need to do something with them. So those that couldn't be postponed, we basically moved to a virtual format as well. Where PHUSE is actually quite lucky, we have a global network. We have board members around the world, and we have friends of PHUSE around the world. We were getting feedback from every country that is represented by PHUSE, all across Asia, all across Europe, and all across North America and Canada. And don't forget, there's obviously variations within America, as we would have found out as the time went on. And it was obvious to us that the global emergency that we find ourselves in now was not and is not going to end anytime soon. PHUSE as a company, as a society, we had issues, right? We lost hundreds of thousands of dollars on the US Connect. The hotel, as far as they were concerned, the event should go ahead. We had over 2/3 of the people that had already cancelled to say that they weren't going to attend. So what sort of event would we have had, even if we had taken the decision to go ahead, which I don't believe was the right decision, because we're about healthcare. We're not about spreading viruses. I'd like to remind you that PHUSE does not receive any grants. It does not receive any donations. We basically run the society as lean as possible. We are a user-based society, and any surplus that we get, we invest back in to help run PHUSE. And being volunteer-led, this is our model. and it comes with risk. Our model does come with risk. However, what it also does is it brings passionate people together to advance the industry, and you'll see more about that today. We basically lost our revenue this year. So 95, 96% of our revenue comes from running successful events. They've gone. They just stopped. We've worked hard from building PHUSE from absolutely nothing 15 years ago, 16 years ago, to a global society with over 10,000 members, and our partnership with the FDA, with all the working group material that we produce that's been referenced by the 4 global regulatory agencies of America, Europe, Japan, and Canada. It's fair to say that in March and April there were some real dark days, really, and you know, I did really worry about whether or not we're doing the right thing. But we had 2 options. We could have closed up shop like other industry societies have done, put up the shutters and said, we'll see you next year. Or you can do the other thing. You can run to the fire. And that's what we did. We run to the fire head on. We didn't know how this is going to end. We still don't really know how it's going to end. But what we do know is by being passionate and by driving this, we are going to make the right decision. And there is a chance we might still lose the game, but the way we are now, I don't think that's actually going to happen. I think we're going to come out of this stronger and more successful. But to do that, we do need everyone's continued support. We have to think hard. We've had to redesign everything we do. Virtual events, they're not happening in 2020. There's a question around whether they're even happening in the first few months of 2021 at the moment. But as I said, there's no playbook to turn to, nothing at all. We basically had to deliver our PHUSE objectives, and to do that, we needed to redesign and we needed to listen to what was going on. 2 things we needed, really. We needed to think differently, and we needed to be bold. So as a board decision, we decided to back being bold, and we believe that the industry needs a group that is there to support members through difficult times. Many people, they're used to working in offices. They're at home now. They're distant from their colleagues. And as great as technology is now, you know, heaven forbid if it was COVID-7 or COVID-8 rather than COVID-19, we didn't have the technology stack to deal with this 10 years ago. But the PHUSE community spirit needed to show through, and that is something that I'm immensely proud of. One thing we actually realized straight away is that you just can't stick the word virtual in front of the event. You can't just call it a virtual event and do what you would do in person. That doesn't work. There's absolutely no chance that's going to work. So what we've had to do is think differently and think bold. So to that end, I'm now going to talk about the PHUSE events for 2020 and then for 2021. And hopefully you'll all agree that this is actually exciting and something that you can stand behind. First of all, for the Q2 single-day events, we basically, as I said, had to put these virtual as soon as possible. Now, we've basically had mixed but good results here. These are the numbers on the slide of the people who actually attended. The number who actually registered is basically about 40 to 45% higher. And basically what we realized is for these first ones, we couldn't really change the format that much because a lot of the organization had been done. EMA bite-sized this month. We've tried something a little bit different there. But the other call out here is within the 2 APAC Indian events, we were finding that hundreds, literally 400 to 500 people who registered for the event. Bear in mind that the attendance numbers, as the registration numbers were up near 900, about half of them were not even PHUSE members. They were people who have an interest and actually came and joined. You know, the Pune event, April 25th, looking at diaries, it was a Saturday. Almost 600 people attended a 6-hour event on a Saturday. these are amazing numbers, and this has already given us confidence that what we do is something that we should be proud of and something that we should build upon. But SDEs, we're fast approaching the 200 SDEs. Now, I know other organisations copy single-day events and even call them single-day events, but PHUSE have been proud of doing these now for 10, 11 years. We do see regional differences with the online events between Europe, America, and APAC, and that's something that we've got to recognise. People still like the physical connection, right? When it's allowed. It's obviously not allowed at the moment. And what I can announce today is that PHUSE will look at having hybrid regional time zoned events. So again, separate that into different time zones, so it's good for the people in that particular region. But we're going to run hybrid regional events. Some events we will run both virtual and face-to-face. Other events we will run just virtually within a time zone throughout the year. This is actually going to push the events to be more accessible to more people and to increase the reach that people actually have of attending and learning from these events. For those of you who might have seen this earlier in the month, I know it's a crowded slide. Don't bother about reading it too much. You'll see them later. We had a demo run of this platform that you're on now, actually, and basically we run a data transparency multi-day event. So we had 6 hours worth of content. Rather than run it as a 6-hour event, because that's something else we've learned, 2 to 2.5 hours is about as much as anyone can really cope with. We basically decided to split the 6 hours over 3 days, 2 hours. They started at 10 o'clock Eastern, 3 o'clock UK, 4 o'clock Europe. We were able to actually have people from almost around the world attend. A data transparency event usually gets about 60 to 70 people. We were getting over 350 people attend the event for the whole event with some world-class speakers. The feedback using this platform and basically talking is basically off the chart. And this is a new model. We'll probably end up using this some other time as well. This basically way of doing it. Let's talk about the CSS. So the physical CSS in June, we had to move to a physical CSS in September, and we've now had to move to a virtual CSS in September. So it's not what we want to do, but it's what we've had to do, unfortunately. So what we've done, we've set the date, September 21st to 23rd. We're going to split it over 2 sessions each day, and the 7 working groups are going to meet across the 3 days. And a first for PHUSE, we're going to have an event-long PHUSE hackathon as well, running alongside. And there'll be additional material available on demand. And basically, we've taken the chance really to shake things up. There's the agenda for working group sessions. Now, I won't actually read this verbatim. There's more information available on the website, but there will be under data transparency, for example, we've got FDA, Health Canada, and the EMA all attending a regulatory update. There's going to be work done about R packages, and again linking in with the work that CDIS do regarding SCTM and ADAM, frequently asked questions, and integrating data standards into the work. As you can see, it's actually a full packed agenda, especially a new exciting collaboration and non-clinical folk have got between PHUSE and Biosalivate. We're going to have a number of plenary sessions as normal. We're going to have opening updates from the FDA about progression over the last 15 months. We're going to have a number of panel discussions. One of them, how can't it be about COVID, lessons learned from being agile. We're also going to discuss the first outcome, or the outcome from the first PHUSE FDA Data Science Innovation Challenge. And we've actually managed to take the virtual poster session, or take the poster session online and make that virtual as well. Really exciting stuff. The inaugural PHUSE Hackathon. This is going to demonstrate the capabilities of open source technology in analysis dataset creation, as well as creating analytics, TF tables, figures, and visualizations, and this will be running throughout the 3 days. So really, really exciting to do that. Of course, these events don't happen for free, so we are asking for companies to come and contribute towards running these events. As you can see on the slide, the poster sessions and the app contributors already been sold, but we do have some contribution opportunities for the general event, for media advertisement, and also for live platform contribution, as you might have seen briefly when I showed you the data transparency event. We've managed to keep the price as low as possible. So basically, call for posters actually closes next week. Early bird closes at the end of July. The ticket price is per person, not shareable, but if you register up very soon, $200 or $350 if you register from August onwards. You'll always contact the PHUSE office if you've got any questions. And why are we having to pay for this? The working group support and PHUSE, we're there. Obviously, I've got a day job, but and I'm a volunteer. But the PHUSE office, they're there every day of the year working, and that needs to keep going to keep PHUSE and the working groups running throughout the year. Next, Liverpool. So we are supposed to be looking forward to inviting 700 people to Liverpool in a couple of months' time. 600 of those people would need to be flying into the UK. So, as you can imagine, we've got a problem. Will social distancing really work with 700 people in a conference venue? You just got to think about it. Trying to stay 2 meters, whether it's 2 meters or 1 meter or 1.5 meter or whatever, you're going to take up a lot more space than usual. So there's the number of people in the space to begin with. There's the process for food and beverage. So basically, you wouldn't be able to have buffet. You would have to go for sealed bento boxes. And 700 people, 2 meters apart, that makes the buffet queue 1 mile long. It just doesn't work. The exhibition hall, there'd be more plastic sheeting in there than you've seen anywhere else. The poster session, people talking and touching, and it just doesn't work really. So this year, I'm afraid to say, physical events are not going to work, and we've taken the decision. Some of you might have seen this already, especially the people the amazing people who actually submitted to present. We're actually gone virtual. So the dates, it's the same week, but slightly different. Now basically, I'm going to talk to you about what we're going to do with the event, but for some reason this next slide hasn't actually come up. But the key ingredients of a Connect: 125 presentations, poster session, keynotes, 3 hands-on workshops, some social exposure. These are the things that keep bringing people back time and time again to PHUSE Connects. But as I said earlier on, you can't do the same thing virtually as what you can do physically. So what we've decided to do this year is we've decided to divide the content into 2 parts. And I'm going to spend a bit of time talking about each part. First of all, what we've called Live Week. So basically spread over the course of Live Week, which is the same week we were all going to be in Amsterdam, Liverpool even, a series of 2-hour sessions spread over the week. 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon. This allows maximum concentration, and it also allows people to mix attending the event with other responsibilities they have, whether it's at work or whether it's at home. We're working on the assumption that the vast majority of people will still be working at home in November. I think at this moment in time, we cannot rule out anything else other than that. We've also got this on-demand system. So the system you're seeing now allows on-demand recording through a thing called an engagement hub. And that's also going to be available to people. So I'm going to tell you how we're going to do this now. First of all, Live Week. So Monday morning, we're going to have 2 excellent keynotes. One of them is about data disruption, and the other one is a leading academic researcher from Oxford University who's going to come and talk about everything COVID, about her COVID experiences. She's previously worked on Ebola as well. In the afternoon, we're going to run 3 concurrent hands-on workshops. One about CDIS 360, one which comes straight from our call for papers, the professional development stream, and then a session on R training. You can choose which one you attend. Whichever one you attend, you can then watch the other 2 on demand after the event. So you don't have to miss out on any of this. Tuesday morning, we're going to run a poster session. Then Tuesday afternoon, we've got 3 more workshops. One about a computer environment, statistical computer environment. One again from our main conference, our leadership and innovation stream. And then what we've done, we've pulled together all the COVID presentations into a specific COVID stream on that Tuesday afternoon. Wednesday is actually the 11th of November. It's actually an EU public holiday. So we're again going to have a pause on Wednesday. We might run an exec summit in the afternoon because that's primarily US-based people. But Wednesday will almost be like a break day. Again, allows people to actually catch up on work as well. Then Thursday we get back to enhanced software demonstrations that I'll explain in a minute. And then we've got a regulatory update and panel discussion on Thursday afternoon. Friday, we've got a session called Standing Room Only that I'll talk about again on the next slide. And then finally, we've got 3 more hands-on workshops. We've got one about artificial intelligence, a project management stream, and also a stream about de-identification of data. So again, you'll be able to see the slides later and the recording. You don't have to read it all now, but the 2 I want to call out here are Standing Room Only and the enhanced software demonstrations. Standing Room Only, 15 years of experience of doing this. We know the good speakers, we know the good topics. Rather than have them on demand that you'll see next, we're going to pull them out and we're going to have them presented live during Live Week as well. And then there'll be a live question and answer after that, much the same as what we're doing today. And the other one is enhanced software demos. So we've allowed commercial presentations in our software demonstration stream now for over 10 years. That's not going to change. However, we are going to offer those companies the opportunity to upgrade and to come into Live Week and have a double session. So instead of a 20-minute presentation, they can do a 40-minute demonstration. And we're reaching out to companies now to see if they're interested in that. But that's just part of the content for Live Week. As for the on-demand week, well, think Netflix for PHUSE. We've accepted almost 150 excellent papers this year. One of the benefits that's come out of this is that we're not constrained by room layout or schedules. We're only constrained by quality. So we've managed to get 150 quality papers, and during September and October, these are all going to be recorded one by one in 20-minute sessions. And when you've got your ticket and when you go in November for 6 months, they're going to be available as individual files for you to browse in a library and for you to download. Whenever you will need to reach for that knowledge, you'll be able to get it. We can't have a PHUSE Connect without some sort of social aspect to it. This is still in the planning, but what we're currently thinking at the moment, Sunday night, just before we get going, we're going to set up a number of country-based Zoom rooms for people to get together, people who might not have even got together for the last 12 months, an opportunity for them to connect. Monday night, we're going to have a live band playing acoustically that you'll be able to dial in and watch from home. Obviously, people in California, it'll be in the middle of the afternoon. You have to be a bit careful. And then Tuesday night, we're thinking of some sort of social quiz with maybe some technical questions, with some fun. We're still working on this, but we want to make this an experience the best we can. It's not going to be the same, but we're going to make it as good as possible. As for connecting, you've seen this on 24 platform. We've got our PHUSE app. We've got the Zoom rooms and the Zoom account. Between this, we're going to make it as best as possible. But we've also had to re-engineer our sponsorship. If you actually look on your system, you'll see a resources list. and within there you'll see an updated sponsorship application brochure. But basically it will explain what virtual event sponsorship is, what media advertisement is, what our live platform sponsorship is, and the other ones you should be a bit more familiar with: poster sponsorship, app sponsorship, the social evening I've just spoken about, and the software demonstration stream live. I've also spoken about that as well. But we've basically had to adapt, and we've done the best we can. Now, one plus, I guess, is that it's going to be cheaper. You don't have to travel to and from Liverpool. You don't have to stay in a hotel for 3 or 4 nights. You don't have to have restaurant food for 3 or 4 nights. And although you've got to buy a ticket, the ticket's half the price. So the actual cost to your training budget is half what it would have been, and your cost to your travel and entertainment budget is going to be 0. And again, much the same as the CSS, we try and do as much as possible for free for FHUSE, and everything we do we put in front of a firewall. However, we do need to run the organisation, we do need to run the society, and that's why we are charging for this event. As for charging, the early bird price was going to be 950 sterling for the 3.5 days, £250. Sign up by the end of August. The full price, £450. If an organisation wants to buy more than 25 tickets, talk to us, and we've got multi-buy pricing available as well for companies looking to buy multiple tickets. So I'm going to spend a couple of minutes now, just conscious of time. I'm going to talk about 2021, just give you some dates for the diary to begin with. So first of all, as I said, it was a real tough time in Orlando. The hotel weren't very nice. We've since had further conversations with them. We've managed to get come to some sort of arrangement with them. So we've announced that we're actually going to go back to Orlando June next year. So instead of March, I felt March was still a bit early. So I felt let's move it down to June. So June 13th, we're going to be in Orlando. So start thinking about your presentations for that. CSS will be back next year. We're back in its physical form in September. Dates still to be confirmed, but we'll be back in the Silver Spring Civic Centre next September for the CSS, and then next November the EU Connect will be back physically, and next year we're going to be in Belfast. So be in Belfast. I can't promise it won't rain, but what I can promise is that there's a very short walk from the venue to the hotel. So that's the best I can do for Belfast, but I'm sure it'll be absolutely fine. So let's talk now about Project 2020. I'm going to give you an overview of what we were doing, and then I want to call out 3 things in particular, and you can see them here on the slides. We've been doing this now for 15, 16 years, and I think we do a pretty good job. We're more than just a conference. We got all our working groups, we got all our communications, and together with the single day events around the world, and our connects, and the CSS, and other things we've done along the way, like the Innovation Challenge, we've proven ourselves, but we pushed ourselves during the board meeting to be what's our big, hairy, audacious goal. And we essentially want to be the Kaggle of clinical data sciences. We want to be wider than just SAS programmers. There's nothing wrong with SAS programmers, but we want to be wider than that, because we realize that the industry is changing. The industry has already changed. It's been disrupted by these new technology companies, and we need to adapt to keep up with that. So the first thing I'm going to talk to you about now is the FHUSE Open Data Repository, PODRA, as it's called. Now, I actually have it open on my computer. I'm tempted to do a live demo, but the technology is working all right at the moment. I don't want to jinx anything. And given the time, I've only got a quarter of an hour left. So I think I'll just plow on at the moment. But we announced last September a Data Science Innovation Challenge together with the FDA to look at 3 different challenges that scientists at FDA have: opioid substance use disorder, drug safety surveillance, and drug-drug interactions. And we actually run this as a challenge, and we were actually going to have 12 or 15 of these presented in the Orlando conference in like a concurrent event that we were going to run at the same time. We had over 30 submissions in total, and there were some amazing ideas and some real novel thinking. And it was bringing in companies and people who aren't usually part of the traditional PHUSE society, because it was reaching out to the data scientists. So as part of our having to go virtual, we actually created Innovation Friday. Again, in your resource list on the screen, you should see a link to YouTube. If you click on that later, it'll take you into the YouTube library for all of the data presentations, videos. What is PODRA, the PHUSE Open Data Repository? So imagine if we were able to increase engagement from working groups and from our events. Imagine that in under 5 minutes, you could go from nothing to doing data analysis. Imagine the opportunity to learn new tools, best practices, Jupyter, Python, Julius, things like that. Imagine being able to quickly launch collaborative research ideas, and imagine being able to make data analytics accessible to all people at all levels without any IT involvement. We have this already. We've built this in the last 4 months, and we're ready to launch that today. I'm really, really excited, and I'm really, really thankful for Jose. Jose reached out to me in October with a vision, with his experience of what he's done before. And at the time, the time wasn't right, and I kept in touch with Jose, and he's got a real passion, and he's got a track history of actually working with open clinical data. And then what with this year with COVID and everything going virtual, Jose and I spoke again, and Jose's agreed to come on as a PHUSE volunteer and to support us in this space. Concurrently to that, I basically we're having conversations with Microsoft, and I've got to say Microsoft have run to the fire as well, and have actually set us up with a virtual environment based on Azure for all this data to be housed and for all this analysis to be done. The only thing stopping the impossible is our imagination at the moment. The feedback so far from FDA, from within Microsoft, and from within some members of the PHUSE working groups who we've demoed this with has been absolutely amazing, and we're in a position that we're going to roll this out sometime soon. So what is it? It's basically an open source repository that gives you the ability to either do data analysis in the system or outside of the system. We're pulling in all open data sources that we are allowed to. Stuff from the FDA, the EMA, the World Health Organization, XCures, COVID databases, PubMed, and clinicaltrials.gov, together with the NIH library as well. All that information, publicly available sources. You don't have to go to their websites. We've actually gone and compiled that information. Jose's actually gone and compiled that information. He's brought it in. Some of these change format every few months or every few years. He's actually taken account of that. Through his raw data process inside, he's actually managed to transform the data into a single data set structure. We then basically enrich all that hosting within the Azure platform, and basically we use the Azure platform to do user management, and then the data is available for you to consume. Of course, it's only for not-for-profit projects. This cannot be used for-profit commercial gain, but for non-profit projects that we work on at PHUSE, it basically has the blessing of Microsoft, which is why they've put the money in. And we're talking to some of these software companies on the right-hand side here to even have their software embedded within the platform, so that you don't even have to go outside. Really, really, really exciting times. Next steps, well, the first beta release has already been sent out to interested PHUSE members, and there's been some great feedback. We're in the middle of building some more use cases. As I mentioned, we're working with software companies to add in more capabilities. We're looking for other data sources to load, but they have to be allowable, of course. And we're using this as a platform to design the second PHUSE FDA Data Science Innovation Challenge. And one more time, I just want to publicly thank Jose and Microsoft and the FDA for being with us on this journey and for making it a reality. Next up, I'm going to talk about PHUSE Education. This is another new aspect of Project 2020, one that we're immensely proud of as well. And again, just shows that we're more than just a conference. We've got a vision, right? The vision, you can read it on the screen here, but we're essentially training people to do the same tasks. So a lot of this is pre-competitive. This is still one of Transcellate's biggest achievements, is basically having a single GCP module for physicians to use. So instead of having to do 15 or 16 similar GCPs, they can just do the single one. And it's the same sort of thing here with education. There's certain stuff, we're training the same people. Wouldn't it be a lot better if everyone was trained the same way? I mentioned earlier on, you've got these new tech companies that are coming in. It is disruptive, and we, as the old guard, need to prepare for the future. Some of you might not want to. You might not think it's relevant yet, but we believe it will be. You might not see it yet, but we need to modernise. So what the education is, it's all built around the fact that there are 4 different knowledge pillars that we need to do our jobs as clinical data scientists. And essentially, they boil down to understanding technology, understanding clinical data, and then business skills, both soft and hard, where soft ones are around project management and line management, and hard business skills are learning to code, whether it be R, Python, SAS, Julia, whatever tool. So these essentially are the 4 different tools that pillars of knowledge that basically people need. And then built around those 4 pillars of knowledge are a number of educational clusters. There's 10 of them, save you counting. And all 10 of these are going to be addressed. And you can just see by the blue, standards across the industry, programming languages, technologies, therapeutic areas, data engineering, wider drug development. There's nothing here that you will not be looking at saying, that's right, that's exactly right. And between the 2, this is going to drive the PHUSE education component as we move forward. As you would expect, this has a very strong link with the PHUSE working groups. It's going to basically, there's a massive synergy between the 2. We're basically going to be working closely. Sasha, who runs education, is going to be working closely with Chris Price on this. And what else Sasha's done is he's already presented to the European programming heads, and he tells me that they were all very impressed, and they've agreed that this is going to help the industry cope with the disruptive change that's going to come. And you're going to see more about this launched in the next few weeks, but work is well underway. So the final big topic, hopefully you're still with me, and hopefully I put myself off mute, is membership thinking. So we need to think about the future of PHUSE. We've had a membership module now for about 10 years, and the numbers have grown. We're up over 10,000 members, and it's great, but it's not quite there for the 2020 and beyond, which is why we need to change something. Let's first say that we acknowledge that the healthcare is going through a tremendous amount of change. Technology is changing all the time. The programming languages are becoming more broader, and the regulatory landscape is very fluid. 5-6 years ago, data transparency didn't even exist. Now, almost every company on this call today will have a data transparency department, for example. So what PHUSE is going to be with respect to membership is we're going to be a free-to-join community of data scientists, and we're going to be known as the de facto global healthcare data science community. And that starts from January. Well, we're working on it already, as you can imagine. We're going to transform membership to community. We're going to make sure that people are connected at every level. We're going to provide the education framework, as you just seen in the previous slides. And we're going to offer solutions to allow collaboration you've seen the PODRA, you've seen what we do in the working groups, and we're going to make sure that that goes to one stage further so people remain aware of all the technology changes that are coming as well. We're going to be known as the best-in-class community, and using our mentor, we're going to connect people across the industry. We're going to share solutions in partnership with regulatory agencies, as we do already, and we're going to advance our technology solutions. So the DNA of PHUSE is not changing. It's just the way that it comes across and the way it gets delivered. It's going to give us a lot more opportunities. We do need to recoup the lost revenue from membership. So you might think, what on earth are you doing this now for, on top of everything you were saying about COVID? Well, it's because we're running to that fire. It's because we believe in what we're doing. So we're asking your companies to invest by becoming a PHUSE supporter. We have two options. We've got a PHUSE Signature supporter and a PHUSE Premier supporter. I won't go through the slides now, but this is the slides are available, but more importantly, we'll be reaching out to you shortly. But basically, things are going to be done a slightly different way. We're going to be asking companies to actually join and to be a signature supporting organisation with these benefits, and for Premier, slightly less benefits, but still a very, very cost-effective way of being involved with PHUSE. So next steps, Sangeeta, our PHUSE Membership Director, will be reaching out to the companies who are already members in the coming month. Members, at the end of the year, your current PHUSE membership is going to automatically convert to community status. No need to do anything. And companies, as I said, we're going to be reaching out to you in the next 1 or 2 months, hopefully the next month, to discuss the different options and to talk you through the pricing option. So finally, closing topic, just have a quick sip of tea. Just going to update you briefly on the board positions, and then we'll move to the Q&A. So just a reminder, if anything comes through, please do put your questions in the Q&A box, and we'll get to that shortly. I haven't even looked at them yet, so but hopefully there's at least one. So board positions, I'd just like to call out Yvonne, Adi, and Sasha in particular. So Sasha has basically moved into the education role from the communications role. As you've seen, this is going to be one of the new key cornerstones of the PHUSE model. Adi has actually taken on communications and operations. We basically merged them into one because they both very closely link into the PHUSE office with respect to the communications hub, and Adi was already in operations in charge of the PHUSE office. And Yvonne, our Special Projects Director, congratulations to Yvonne. She's got a job starting, or a new job, I should say, starting very soon, and she'll be moving to GSK. Now, we do have a number of rules, and that rule is the fact that we already have 3 board members from GSK, and 3 is the absolute maximum. So basically, Yvonne has graciously decided to step down from the board at the end of the year, leaving Anna, John, and Adi from GSK. We're going to start a recruitment process for this role in 3rd quarter. But Yvonne will continue to support PHUSE through working groups, through the Connects, the single day events, and the other summits and other projects that we actually do run. But that is the only change to the board that's going to happen this year. The reason why that is we want to ensure a continuation of service as an extraordinary measure this year. It's a very difficult year. People are in the middle of the COVID journey, and any more disruption than this wouldn't be good for PHUSE and for the society. So let me just recap on what you've heard today. So I hopefully explained to you why PHUSE took the decisions it did around COVID and the journey that we've been on, albeit in a abridged fashion. I've basically explained to you the 2020 planning for the events, and also giving you a foresight into what's happening in 2021. I've given you notification that the PHUSE Open Data Repository will be launching extremely soon. It's actually in beta testing at the moment, and the PHUSE Education Programme is also being worked on at the moment. And finally, I've started socialising with you the changes to PHUSE membership that's coming this year. So I'm going to move now to questions and answers. I see we've got about 9 minutes left. So just going to go into the system, and I'm going to try and read some of the questions out. If the hybrid meeting approach is successful, could it be the norm, or will face-to-face events come back in full once the pandemic passes? That's obviously a good question, and we obviously don't know. I don't think there is the actual face-to-face interactions. Bear in mind that most of us work remotely or part remotely. I don't think we can ever get away from and I don't think we should get away from face-to-face interaction and human meetings. I think it will come back. It'll be different next year. I think it will happen. So 2020, it's not happening. 2021, it will happen, but it might be a bit awkward. And I think it will take until 2022 to actually come back into how the new normal, as people are referring it to. I do think that the single day events, the hybrid approach of single day events is actually a beneficial way of trialing this and of actually seeing how we can do both at the same time. But one thing PHUSE has shown this year is that we're adaptive. We have adapted and we will adapt. So I've got no problem with that. Just got recognition from somebody saying that it was a hard decision, but a good decision in the sense of looking after the health of all people. And thank you for calling that out. And I hope that message came across loud as well. So someone's asking, moving forward, do you foresee greater collaboration with Transcelerate? I'm not sure, to be honest. The problem with Transcelerate is that a lot of their stuff is member only, and that's not the PHUSE model. The PHUSE model is to make everything available publicly and to involve everybody in the making of that material. So if there are areas where Transcelerate are willing to work in that space, then yes, I think that's very possible. We've seen that with the non-clinical bioaccelerate work. We've also seen that how Transcelerate have actually handed off their previous data transparency material to PHUSE. PHUSE now owns the old Transcelerate material and will now look at upgrading that in the future as Transcelerate exits that space. But as long as the PHUSE model of being open and being inclusive, as long as we can come up with a project where Transcelerate or any other organisation is willing to play in that space, then yes, I do see greater collaboration, but only in that space. I hope that answers your question. So obviously I'm reading these for the first time, so you can bear with me a minute. So what's my assessment on how the new model of membership will impact the smaller organisations, CRO or pharma, that do not opt for Premier or Signature? Well, maybe one thing with PHUSE, one mistake we've made is that we actually don't charge that much. We're actually very, very low cost compared to other organisations. We're small change actually compared to some of them. So I don't think it's going to be a big ask. And we've tried to get these two packages, and we've tried to model them so that the small to medium companies can take one of them, and then the large companies will be more driven towards the other one. And again, we've done this not to make money, but just to break even. So I think when you get contacted and when you see the price levels, hopefully you think, oh, is that it? But but I'm sure there will be something there for the small companies as well. Should PHUSE explore projects that could bring financial stability so that difficult situations like COVID have minimal impact on PHUSE's operation? So what we did, must have been 10 years ago, is we basically have gone and built up reserves, and our reserves were okay. Our reserves would have been absolutely fine if Orlando was a one-off event. However, I don't think anyone was expecting COVID to be a year-long event, or something to come along that was a year-long event. But basically, we will be addressing the reserves that we have, and we will probably look to make a larger contribution to our reserves in the future. To basically give us more protection. However, I think it's fair to say that we are going to be able to survive. We think we've put together a great opportunity for people. The data transparency event showed that. The new way of doing single-day events will show that. The offering for CSS and the offering for the EU Connect proves that that we're hitting the sweet spot. How may one get involved with PHUSE as a volunteer? Please, in the system, if you go to the bottom, you'll see you should see something that looks like an email. If you click on that, you can basically leave your contact details. Give us some insight into the types of things that you're interested in, and then we'll share that through the PHUSE directors, and they'll be able to reach out to you with opportunities. That's the best I can probably say at the moment, and I think there may even be a question in the survey, which would be amiss of me to mention at the moment. That if you've got time, if you just click on the survey, and there's 3 or 4 short questions that you can answer. I think you've got the opportunity to leave your details in there as well. Finally, or at the moment, someone thinks the platform looks great and thinks we've made a great decision. So think different and think big. Well, thank you for that. And as I said, there were some very, very dark days back in March. But I think through hard work and determination by a lot of people, I think we've turned the corner. And I actually believe in what we've actually put together. And I think this is here for the future. So believe it or not, we're actually fast approaching the o'clock. So somehow I've managed to fill the full hour. Thank you for the questions. Thank you for staying with us today. I hope you found it useful. And if you do find it useful, if you think one of these every 6 months would be useful, please also let us know. So on behalf of the PHUSE board, on behalf of the PHUSE office, I'd like to thank you again for being with us, and hope to see you virtually at CSS and at the EU Connect later this year. So stay safe, and don't forget to wash your hands. Thank you.